It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Wherever the road may take you, Discount Tire and Continental Tire get you there safely with the perfect combination of style, comfort, and price. Get a set of Continental tires at your local Discount Tire store or online at discounttire.com. Discount Tire, let's get you taken care of.
Apple Card is the perfect cashback rewards credit card. You earn up to 3% daily cash on every purchase, every day. That's 3% on your favorite products at Apple, 2% on all other Apple Card with Apple Pay purchases, and 1% on anything you buy with your titanium Apple Card or virtual card number. Visit apple.co/card calculator to see how much you can earn. Apple Card issued by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Subject to credit approval. Terms apply.
There's nothing better than a Saturday special. That's why you're tapped back into your daily source for fantasy hockey news. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. A whole lot to get to on today's special episode. We're taking a look at all the news from around the league. Streak snaps, post tickets. Fucked up. Doing it again. We back. It's a Saturday special of your source for fantasy hockey news. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, and we are covering all of the top trending news from around the NHL. Streak snaps, the playoffs looming. Let's get right into it.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome back inside the lab to the Saturday special Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. I'm joined, as always, by my esteemed co-host, Mr. Steele Roden, and on this side of the microphone, it's your boy, Big Flip Livingstone. Thank you so much for all the everydayers holding us down, making us your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Giddy up, Steele. You and I love doing Saturday specials every once in a while because there's things to be discussed. And you and I have been all over the map this season, fantasy, bets. But right now, things are happening. So we're going to take a look at all the news roundup very quickly. Postseason tickets punched, Stars, Hurricanes, Bruins, Panthers, they're in. But also some streak snap. Nathan MacKinnon's home point streak snapped. The Predators hadn't not gotten a point steal in 6 weeks. That streak is also snapped. But also a little bit of an interesting angle here with Fedotov for the Philadelphia Flyers, a goalie coming in from Russia. I'm going to talk about that very quickly. And we're going to look at the bottom of the barrel. One of the worst teams in the NHL have the best shot at bouncing back next season. Saturday's bets. We got lots to get to, Steele. Right over to you. I don't know where you want to start. Maybe these Nashville Predators very quickly, because all of a sudden they were on the outside looking in, and now they're very comfortably holding down that number one Western wildcard spot.
Yeah, very comfortably. And very big, very tough loss against the Arizona Coyotes, who have already been eliminated, I believe, from contention.
Yep.
We pretty much knew they weren't going to make the playoffs about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I mean, what an absolute run from the Nashville Predators. I mean, we've seen a lot of game-winning streaks over the course of this season, even last season as well. So Nashville Predators got hot at the right time. Hopefully this 8-4 loss to the Arizona Coyotes doesn't cool them off. Philip Forsberg still gets his 41st goal of the season. Roman Josi, Gustav Nyquist, just one of those bad games against a bad teams. You know, it was bound to happen for this
big
club
night
right
from
now,
Logan Cooley too.
Yeah, Logan Cooley had a big night. Josh Doan had a couple of assists as well. So that's another guy, like you mentioned, that we got to keep an eye on over the course of the remainder of the regular season.
Yep.
But look, they're holding on to that first wild card spot. Actually, the Vegas Golden Knights are now third in the Pacific Division. The Kings fall down after their loss to the Oilers last night. But 90 points for the Nashville Predators. They have a chance to get into the top 3 of the Central Division right now. There's no question. They're
not out of the question.
Yeah, they're 4 points back of the Winnipeg Jets. The Jets are 4-5-1 in the last 10. So, I mean, that's clearly a possibility. But again, I mean, do you want to go up against the Dallas Stars, or do you want to go up against the Colorado Avalanche? I mean, again, pick your poise. it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good either way.
I'm excited for us to take a look. Once all of these matchups finally get solidified, which is only a matter of days away now, you and I will break down every single playoff series, X factors, our predictions, bets, who wins and how many games, and I'm fired up for that. But when I look at the Nashville Predators, and you look at some teams here, like I mentioned the Florida Panthers, they punched their postseason ticket with a loss. I think they have 5 out of 6 games they've dropped now. You never want to back into the postseason. Everyone knows this in any sport. You want to be going in there on some kind of heater, even if it's just good vibes. And the Nashville Predators definitely have that right now. They're also still 22-11-3 away from home. Another good sign of a postseason team, ability to win away from your own barn. So the Nashville Predators are a pesky little team. And look, you mentioned it. When your top guys go, you win. Forsberg, you mentioned it. Yossi, you mentioned it. These guys have had killer seasons, and they are big reasons why. So the Nashville Predators have as well. Now, if you don't mind, speaking of ups and downs, the Philadelphia Flyers have been a team that we got to give them props because they basically came out of they did come out of the basement in the Metro to hold down that third spot for most of the season. It's slipping right now, Steele. As we stand here Saturday, Washington is 1 point back with 2 games in hand on Philly. Those 2 games might end up being huge. So this angle with Fedotov, Ivan Fedotov, and let me give you a little bit of background here. He is a 27-year-old goaltender, Steele. He finally joins this team after being drafted in the 2015 NHL draft. But let me hit you with this, and this is why I think this could be actually important for them, given Carter Hart is dealing with what Carter Hart is dealing with. They've had flux in the cage. Let me hit you with this. He has actually showed out in the KHL, and that's what I wanted to bring up. He was the best goalie in the KHL in 2021-22. He had a 2.00 goals against average and a .920 save percentage in 26 games. Then he carried that same team to the Gagarin Cup, which he went 16-6 in the postseason with a .937 save percentage. That's not the NHL, but those are good numbers, and they're definitely good enough for me to have a look at him in your any kind of pool, just because how thin the goaltending market is. Do I go there and add him right away? I don't think so, but I have my eyes double peeled because I have a feeling they're going to give this guy a bit of an opportunity here down the stretch. Samuel Ersson has been struggling.
Yeah, he has been struggling. A lot of the load, a lot of the pressure has been on his shoulders, obviously, with Carter Hart's absence. This Philadelphia Flyers team, like you said, is slipping right now. They're 3-5-2 in their last 10 games. And, 1 point up on the Washington Capitals. You got 5 points on the New York Islanders as they have 2 games in hand. So this is going to come down to a very close race in the Metropolitan. Even the Atlantic Division. Tampa Bay is 4 points back after a big win from the Maple Leafs, but anything can happen right now. I think we know most of the teams that are going to be in the playoffs, but the positioning of them could change fast.
Most definitely. And just, to close the point here, we're going to head to break. We're going to talk about the bottom feeding teams in the NHL that have the best shot at bouncing back next season and Saturday's bets. There's a loaded board, Steele. Your boys finished off the week pretty hot, and I've got 3 awesome picks for tonight. Stay tuned for that. I just want to close this point on this Russian goaltender, Ivan Fedotov. If he does go in here and he proves out and he shows that he can actually play at the NHL level, and I believe he is still under contract, there aren't enough goaltenders to go around, Steele, ever. So you don't want to miss an opportunity in the fantasy realm to perhaps get under the radar and snag a name that others aren't paying attention to. However, today, you got to be paying attention to our friends at eBay Motors. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is what also keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts to fit your number one ride or die, you'll always find what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. With eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. All the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that W. Keep your ride or die live at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to our U.S. customers.
Have you ever seen an NHL player get off a team bus and think to yourself, gosh, I wish I could dress that nice? Well, with Indochino, you can. Indochino makes fully customized suits that don't require a trip to the tailor to get that perfect fit. Recently, I was shopping for a new dress shirt for my upcoming wedding, and when I decided to go with the Hyde herringbone shirt, I was blown away at all the customization options I had. I could change the type of collar, cuffs, and even decide whether or not I wanted a chest pocket, all while being incredibly affordable, especially given the quality of the product I was getting. New colors, fabrics, and outerwear styles are added regularly too, so it's easy to create your next look. Level up your game with Indochino. Go to Indochino.com and use code NHL to get 10% off any purchase of $399 or more. That's 10% off at INDOCHINO.com with code NHL.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Day, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for your everyday to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Day brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channel app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in for the Saturday special with Flip and I. Continue to hit the subscribe, the follow button, leave a 5-star review.
Yes, sir.
Bottom feeding teams that are dead last or right there at the bottom of the NHL standing boards this season, but could potentially bounce back heading into this into next year. I'll throw it over to you. How many teams do you have? I've got 2 teams, maybe 3.
I've got 2.
I've got 2 teams that I feel comfortable talking about and think that they can make a little bit of a bounce back next year.
I don't know if I feel comfortable talking about any of these teams, Steele. However, I do see look, I'll spit it out. The Ottawa Senators have underachieved. They should not be as bad as they are in the standings, especially given like a lot of these other teams. The Sharks don't have as much talent. The Blackhawks aren't even close. Like they don't have pieces like Shabbat and Sanderson. Are there question marks? For sure. So number one, and I think that's the obvious one, is the Ottawa Senators. And I'll just kind of leave it at that because, they've underachieved, but they should be a lot better. So I'll just leave it at that. But number 2, and hit me with your take on this because this one's slightly more bold, but it's the Columbus Blue Jackets. And let me just explain. And I know, shout out to Troy. This is a Troy plug. But I think the likes of Voronkov, Marchenko, who's the other kid? Sure. Thank you. The 3 of them and this goalie, Tarasov. I'm intrigued by Daniel Tarasov. I think he's actually going to be an excellent number 1 goaltender in the NHL. Can't wait for Troy to chime in on this one. But I'll also say the Columbus Blue Jackets have Adam Fantilli, Kent Johnson. They have some very interesting young forwards. And I think if any of those, even 1 or 2, step out to the level of I think they can next year, this Columbus Blue Jackets team, then you mix in Boone Jenner, don't forget about Johnny Gaudreau, they might actually be tough to deal with offensively. Defensively, that's going to be a whole other story. But I could see this Columbus Blue Jackets team being pesky to deal with next season.
See, that's the team where I wanted to put them in, but I wasn't sure if I should just because it is bold. And I do agree with you, with Voronkov, Chinnikov, Marchenko. The Russians have been very, very good for them this season. Again, first year, second year into the NHL. They've dealt with a lot of injuries on the blue line. Werenski, a few other guys. Obviously, Adam Fantilli's been out for half the season. Goaltending, Merzlikins has been struggling the entire season because he doesn't have much help in front of him. I want to put them in so bad, but what worries me is that Johnny Gaudreau is not the same player anymore.
It's true.
He just isn't. And it honestly just seems like at times the team doesn't care. And it goes right through him. And that's why I left them off for this. But I'm right there with you. I want to put them in so bad, especially with, the conversations we've had. Troy leaving the comments on the channel. We see it. We see what this team can do potentially. But Johnny Gaudreau is a big reason for me leaving them off right now.
It's a good point, though, Steele. His energy does seem to kind of permeate the rest of the team.
It just seems like he doesn't really care on a nightly basis. And
bad energy.
Along with the other guys, like Ken Johnson has just not lived up to what he could be right now in his career. Too. He's been injured, but even just like the few years he's been in the NHL. So sure. I'm right there, but I got to see what they maybe do for the rest of the regular season, then going into the offseason, maybe change some things up. I want to touch on the Ottawa Senators, obviously.
Please, I left that one for you.
We both had expectations, high expectations for this team. I even think I might have said they were maybe a wild card team.
I think we both did. Yeah.
We might have both said that they were a wild card team, and clearly a down year for almost every single player. Like Tim Stützle had 39 goals last year. He only has 18. He might not even get to 20 this year. That's atrocious.
That is.
Points are down for Stützle, Tkachuk, Giroux, Batherson, Sanderson. The only guy that I've been I really like Brady Tkachuk, obviously.
Yeah.
The only guy that's really stood out to me, and he hasn't even played half the season, is Shane Pinto. Guy's been absolutely stellar for the Ottawa Senators, and I can't wait to see him in a full season for the Ottawa Senators as well.
You're on fire over there, by the way.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So with the Ottawa Senators, I don't know if they're going to buy out Jonas Korpisalo. I think they probably should after the season that he's put up. But I mean,
speaking of atrocious,
maybe they run it back with him. Maybe he can bounce back as well along with the team. And as much as Ottawa Senator fans aren't going to admit this, and they will never admit this, they definitely miss Alex DeBrincat right now. Alex DeBrincat was a huge case. Like they did very well last year. And so I know they have a sour taste left in their mouth when Alex DeBrincat wanted out and he traded to Detroit, but it is what it is at this point. They're never going to admit it, but they definitely miss Alex DeBrincat's presence. I've got one more team.
Yeah. Who else you got?
Also coming from the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, the Western Conference bottom feeders.
Yeah.
Just a little side note. The Ducks, Blackhawks, and San Jose Sharks.
They're write-offs. Absolute write-offs.
That is really bad. And just for context, because I was just noticing this, so you think the Columbus Blue Jackets, 58 points in dead last in the East, have a minus 60 goal differential. You're like, oh my God, that's awful. Scroll down to the San Jose Sharks, minus 135. Blackhawks, minus 99. And the Ducks, a negative 84 goal differential. That's just a little stat for the head tops.
Yeah, and that's very, that's just a little bit.
That doesn't even make sense. I thought that was an error.
It might be. Who knows? That probably is. But my last team in the Eastern Conference, I just want to talk about them real quick because even though they are one of the bottom feeding teams, I've seen a lot of bright spots with their team this season. The Montreal Canadiens. I think we need to talk about them a little bit.
Sure.
Nick Suzuki is right there at this point in his career where we can probably start having a conversation about him being a star in the NHL.
Agreed.
He's having his best season yet. 69 points, just pulling up the stats right now, but 69 points in 72 games, career high 30 goals. He's got 39 assists. He's one more assist from tying his career high. But last year he had 66. I'm just going to go on a yearly basis. First 2 years, 41 points. Third year, 61 points. Fourth year, 66. Fifth year, 69. He's gotten better every single season. He's reaching career highs right now. It's the first time in his career he's above 53% in the faceoff circle. Also the first time he's above 50% in the faceoff circle. Juraj Slafkovsky, big surprise this season. I know he was the first overall pick and injuries and whatnot, but he's been very good for them since midway of the season. I think I've mentioned this before as well. I don't believe Cole Caulfield is going to be the goal scorer in the NHL. Let me say, I don't believe that he's going to be the goal scorer in the NHL like a lot of people think he's going to be. I think he's going to be a heck of a player. I think he's going to be one of the studs for the Montreal Canadiens. But I've said this before too. I see his ceiling as a Mitch Marner type of player, a guy that can score 30 goals, but he's more of a playmaker. He's going to be feeding his teammates. He's going to be setting them up.
Yeah.
That's what I see Cole Caulfield as, and he's proving it this season.
That's true.
He's proving it this season as well. Let me pull Cole Caulfield's stats up.
I got him right here. 20 goals, 35 assists.
20 goals, 35 assists. And I was doing a little comparison with Mitch Marner. Very similar starts to their careers. First couple of seasons in the NHL, 20 goal mark, 25 goal mark. But it's the apples. It's the assists that rack up the point production from him. He's got 35 assists compared to 10 last year, 20 the year before that. He's at his career high 55 points in 72 games. He loves to shoot the puck, obviously, but he's got a 7.4 shooting percentage. I know last year was 16.5, but I do think he's going to be a good goal scorer in this league. I just think he's more of a playmaker, and that's more of his ceiling and trajectory for me. But with this Montreal Canadiens team, I think they need to maybe shed a little bit of shed some contracts. Like Brendan Gallagher is just an absolute bust. He's not.
Yeah.
He's a fourth line
That's
grind
a tough
at this
one
point.
for sure.
He's not a second liner. For me, Alex Newhook, he's not a second line center either. They need to figure out the top six forward group to get a little bit more stability, some veteran presence in there, because it is a very young team. I think Alex Newhook needs to be moved down to the third line center position. They need to fill someone in for that second line.
I love Marty St. Louis. I love what they're doing in the cage with Sam Montembeault and it's Primo, right? Is it Caden
Primo?
I like that combination. I like what they're doing. The needle is pointed in the right direction. I don't know about where their pipeline is in terms of talent. I would like to have a little bit more of a dig into that to see, like, we'll
have to look into the prospects.
Let's take a look into that angle. Maybe
they got a lot of draft picks too. They have a lot of draft picks.
Love that. And the fact that Cole Caulfield is 5'7" also blows my mind, because he is still, I think he's going to, anyway, let's leave all of these takes for the offseason. We're going to have lots of time to talk about it. Don't disagree with you. Those are the bottom feeding clubs that have the best shot at bouncing back next season. We got bets coming up right around the break.
Right around the break, indeed. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's March Madness, baby. Say goodbye to busted brackets, because FanDuel lets you bet on every single game of the tournament, whether you're betting on a big upset or a number one seed, which we've seen plenty of times so far this March. Time to go dancing, go toe-to-toe on America's number one sports book. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines, player props, whatever you want. You can even pick who's going to win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut down those nets.
Trading at Schwab is now powered by Ameritrade, bringing you an expanding library of education with even more ways to sharpen your trading skills. Access new online courses, insightful webcasts, articles, engaging videos, and more, all curated just for traders. Plus, guided learning paths with content designed to fit your unique interests. No sifting to find exactly what you need, so you can spend your time learning to trade brilliantly. Learn more at schwab.com/trading.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to hit the subscribe, the follow button, leave a 5-star review. We appreciate all that love and support you show us Monday through Friday.
Yes,
Flip,
sir.
We're going to show some love to them over the weekend with the Saturday Smash Easter weekend. Happy Easter out there to all your families.
Happy Easter.
Big Saturday game board over here, though. Lots of games, lots of early games as well.
14 games. Still,
over to you, my friend. What's your first pick of the night?
First of all, I'm hyped. I'm fired up. First pick, Sabres, Leafs. Sabres, Leafs. This is how fired up I am. I'm looking at way too many games. Sabres and Leafs. Let me say this. Number one, there's this illness going through the Toronto Maple Leafs right now. Austin Matthews was sick the other night. He almost didn't play against against the Capitals. He almost didn't play. So there's some guys that are sick. There's also, they were out 3 regulars on the blue line against Washington Steel. The point I'm trying to get at here is, I think this is all the makings of a high-scoring game. The Sabres have been involved in a bunch of crooked number games, and how about 6 of the last 8 between these two Eastern Conference foes over the number? All of those injuries on the blue line. I think the Leafs are going to let a couple of softies in, perhaps. That's the angle I'm going with, Steele. I'm really loving the over in this one, so give me the over 6.5. That's my first pick of the night.
I like the pick. And I'm definitely going to be, I'm including that into my parlay, but I've got 3 picks and I've got 3 puck line, baby. I'm going back to the puck line guru thing over here. I also got an over for one of these games as well, but the first pick, Panthers on the puck line against the Red Wings. First game of Saturday, of the Saturday board. 7 times the Panthers have won by 2 or more goals, and they've won 9 out of the last 10. So I'm going Panthers puck line against the Red Wings, a team that just clinched a playoff spot, a team that is fighting for first place in the Atlantic Division. They've dominated the Red Wings. That's my first pick. Second pick, and I'm actually going to throw this in there with it, Oilers on the puck line against the Anaheim Ducks. Let me just get this up real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
No, they've owned
8
them.
times. 8 times they've won by 2 or more goals. I'm also going to throw in the over 6.5. Because 8 times it's been over 6.5 in the last 10
like
games.
those.
Oilers puck line over 6.5 against the Anaheim Ducks. Going to absolutely hit it out of the park on Saturday. Last pick of the night. I'm with you with the over 6.5 in this Leafs matchup, because I'm also going to take the Leafs on the puck line against the Sabres. It is bold. I know they've been a little little sketchy against the Buffalo Sabres at times, but I'm feeling the puck line. I'm feeling the Dogs right now. Big win against Washington again. Puck line, Panthers, Oilers puck line, Leaf puck line, and the over 6.5 in that Ducks-Oilers game.
That is a whole lot of puck line steal, and you got some cojones on you.
I'm feeling
because the Florida Panthers only have 3 regulation wins in the last 10. However, I'm not going to disagree with those head-to-head numbers. I also just don't know how to diagnose this Detroit Red Wings team when it comes to betting. They seem to pooch me every time I bet against them, and every time I bet on them, it's just one of those squads that this season has not been good. So I'm just going to stay away from that one altogether. 2 more picks, including my lock of the night, which you may have heard from me once or twice, Steele, but that's because the Pittsburgh Penguins are playing the Columbus Blue Jackets. So we'll get there in a second. The New York Islanders are on the road into Tampa Bay. Number 1, over the last 5 or 6 seasons, Tampa Bay has been one of the best home teams to play against.
Oh, yeah.
You go into that barn, it's rocking. They rarely get embarrassed. It happens. But anyway, the New York Islanders don't have it. I know that's been a team you and I have talked about a lot. To me, and this is just my take, 3-6-1 in the last 10 at this time of year is telling me they don't have it. So I'm going to go Tampa Bay at home on the money line. You're going to probably have to take a little bit of juice there. But let me just bring up this number. Right now it's at -180. I'm okay with that. Tampa has points in 8 of their last 9 games against the New York Islanders. Give me the Bolts at home against the Isles, and my lock of the night, the old faithful, baby. He had 2 assists against the Columbus Blue Jackets on Thursday night. He is closing in on 1,000 assists for his career. I believe he's 4 back of 1,000 steal. Sidney Crosby, anytime assist, and I'll finish it off with this, in his career against the Columbus Blue Jackets. In 40 games, 39 assists for Sid. Give me my baby. Sidney Crosby, anytime assist, that's my lock of the night.
Going back to your boy, Sidney Crosby, anytime assist against the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Gotta
Those are
do
the picks for the Saturday special. Make sure you hammer all of them down into a parlay. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Once again, go check out Locked On Sports Today's YouTube channel, the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. They are here for you 24/7 with the hottest sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus the national shows covering every single league. So make sure you go check it out. Go subscribe. Also, you can find it on the free Amazon Fire TV channel app. So make sure you check that out too. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in for today's Saturday special episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Enjoy your weekend out there, Easter weekend for that matter. Good luck with your bets tonight, and we shall see you back here again on Monday.
Happy Easter, everybody.
Wherever the road may take you, Discount Tire and Continental Tire get you there safely with the perfect combination of style, comfort, and price. Get a set of Continental tires at your local Discount Tire store or online at discounttire.com. Discount Tire, let's get you taken care of.
Every day, our world gets a little more connected, but a little further apart. But then, there are moments that remind us to be more human.
Thank you for calling Amica Insurance.
Hey, I was just in an accident.
Don't worry, we'll get you taken care of.
At Amica, we understand that looking out for each other isn't new or groundbreaking. It's human. Amica, empathy is our best policy.
Reese's peanut butter cups are the greatest, but let me play devil's advocate here. Let's see. So, no, that's a good thing. That's definitely not a problem. Reese's, you did it. You stumped this charming devil.